So there's been a softening, at least from the government we've seen today. The Rail Minister, Hugh Merriman, has said the strikes are now costing £1 billion so far. It will be cheaper to end the strikes. A full and final offer on the table. Do you think the RMT are going to accept this and we can finally move on, Paul?
I genuinely don't know, Martin, if they're going to accept it. What I do know is that the RMT is a democratic union. I'm sure they'll be discussing it with their members, and whatever the decision is, they'll make that decision democratically. I mean, I'm really struck by, and you touched on it there, the position of the government. These strikes, the rail strikes, have cost £1 billion already. And it would have been, even by Hugh Merriman, the rail minister's own admission, cheaper to have settled the strikes. Now, that tells me one thing. That tells me that the strikes have become political, that it isn't just about the economics of the situation. This is a political strike, which is about keeping the lid on pay and sending a message to the trade unions: don't get too big for your boots, don't demand too much, because we will kick back against you. Now, that's no way, I don't think, to approach this situation. It's no way to treat workers who, I think, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, are simply trying to maintain their living standards. And for the government to have made it political in this way, I think serves the public ill as well. I mean, unions are often accused of using the public as pawns and of disrupting the public. Well, who's using the public as pawns at the moment in terms of not settling the dispute because it remains political?
Well, but there's another point, Paul, in today's Telegraph. Apparently rail workers are crossing picket lines in increasing numbers. At the start, only 5% of RMT members crossed picket lines. Now it's as high as 20%. So the union members themselves are losing patience as well, because, of course, they're losing pay every day they're out of work.
Well, look, I mean, I don't doubt it's always tough for union members when they're losing money taking strike action. I've been on strike a number of times. It's an agonising decision to take. It causes you financial hardship, that impacts on your family and so on. But equally, Martin, I'm used to these stories from the press of, union strikes crumbling, people flooding back to work, crossing picket lines. I've experienced that when I've been on strike. More often than not, actually, it just isn't true. And I don't think there's any serious evidence now to show that the rail strike or the other strikes that have been taking place are weakening. I think that people are really angry. I think they're not prepared to accept another real terms pay cut. I think they're struggling to pay their energy bills, their mortgages and so on. And I think that if the government thinks that these strikes are going to collapse anytime soon, I think they're going to have a rude awakening.